adult and family. So we want to get the families out there doing stuff like this ice fishing. We've got some ice fishing classes coming up, and we don't have the fancy rods like what these guys have, but we make rods out of dowels just for jigging. And we had a big group of National Guard people here the other day, and they were out here on our pond and caught fish with those little dowels, even as, you know, like you can catch with these. So you can come here and make a rod and go out and do it that way too, if you don't end up winning something really awesome here tonight. So we do classes on hunting, we do classes on fishing, we do classes on outdoor skills like Dutch oven cooking. We've got we'll be having snowshoeing classes if the snow comes that they're talking about. We've got lots of snowshoes here that if we do end up getting some snow and you want to go snowshoeing, you can come over here and check out some snowshoes. It doesn't cost to check them out. We've got them for all sizes, from little to big. So you can come and check those things out. We've also got an ice fishing trunk that if after you learn all this stuff, say you want to take your family, a whole bunch of families, or you want to take the youth group from church, or you want to take a bunch of families from church, or your scout group, or your old buddies, or whatever. We've got a kit that you can check out that has a bunch of rods and reels and all the scoops and everything you need in it to take. It has 15 rods and reels in it. So you just gotta call ahead and get that reserved, but that's kind of a fun thing to do too. So we've got lots of really, really cool things to do here, and we would really love to see, especially those of you who raised your hand that you've never been here, we'd love to see you come to some classes. Everything's free, and the reason it's free is because of people like you who buy fishing and hunting licenses. That pays for everything. This isn't tax dollars, it's all paid for by you guys that use the resource, and we appreciate that a lot. So if you have any other questions about the campus, you can talk to me later. We've got a list of our programs up at the front desk, and if you go on to our website, you can see what's coming up in January, February, and March. We've got those scheduled for now too. So check us out, and we hope to see your faces back here again. I could just go on and on with shameless plugs, but I'm not gonna, because that's not what you're here for. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Auger here, and he can fill you in on the rest of the stuff. So welcome, Dr. Auger and crew.
Am I on here? Are we okay?
Technology is awesome when it works, and we're updating everything in here. It's, like I said, 12 years ago, so everything that was brand spanking new, awesome 12 years ago, it needs updating. So we'll see what we can do here. Okay, we'll do this.
I guess we'll be doing this just one mic up here for the panel here. Well, thank you everybody for coming to this pro panel discussion here. Like I said, usually when I've done this in the past, it's just been a little presentation and some questions afterwards. But you know what? I figured you kind of know a lot of the stuff that's talked about during the presentation. So why not open it up to just a total Q&A session? We can answer any and all questions that you want to talk about ice fishing here in the Black Hills, maybe even a little outside the Black Hills if any of our panels are fishing anywhere besides the hills. But we have myself here, we have Mr. Craig Euler, Mr. Aaron Koski, and Mr. Kevin Vaughn. Where'd you go, Kevin? Oh, of course you would. So we are here just to answer any and all questions you might have. We do have a table full of goodies over here. If you ask a question, you get an item. So as long as we have stuff to give away up here, we'll give them away. As long as we got a table full of goodies to give away here. And then at the very end, we'll probably do about an hour and 15 minutes of questions. So I hope you got a whole bunch, and then we'll do the drawings for all the prizes that are on this table back here. If you haven't seen it, and seen the prizes, we have rods and reels for both adult and kids. We have lures, we have tackle bags, we have even more lures, lots of plastics that come in as well. And then of course, we have the lithium batteries. We have the guide to walleye trip that Kevin has generously donated again this year. And then for the kids this year, we have not only an FL8, but also an FL12. So a couple of kids are going to walk away with a couple of really some nice prizes here tonight. And I guess with that, if you guys want to come on up.
Yay!
All right, guys. So we are up here. We are here for your information. So if you have any questions.
That's about right.
Oh, sure. Yep. We can do a little background here. Most of you guys have been to some of my summers in the past. I've lived in the Black Hills here since 2008. Been ice fishing since I was at least 5 years old. At least I'm aware of my earlier pictures. Always kind of liked doing it here and there. My dad's a walleye fisherman up in Shade Hill. He's a purist for walleyes. If it's not a walleye, it's not a fish in his book. So not always the funnest fish to go after when you're a kid, but there's plenty of things to keep you occupied on the ice when the bite's not really good. But I really got into it pretty hardcore when I moved out here. Talked to a lot of locals who do it an awful lot, and it's been just growing every year. And this is kind of what I enjoy the most with the outdoors, is getting on the ice. As soon as I've got enough ice where I feel I can walk on it. And then I enjoy doing this educational portion of it. It's just a lot of fun to meet new people and ask questions, and hopefully, the advice that myself and the others give help you be more efficient, help you catch some more fish, and just have fun out on the ice. That's what it's really all about. It's just getting out, enjoying the fresh air, enjoying our beautiful Black Hills here, and hopefully catching a few fish or two in between.
Hey everybody, Craig Euler here. Born and raised in the Black Hills. My dad had me on the ice as early as the age of 3. We'd always go to Deerfield and just sitting on buckets and catching trout. And he had a good way of making it fun and enjoyable. And I think if there's one thing to take away from tonight, and I'm sure all 4 of us will express it, is getting kids involved is making it fun. You have plenty of snacks and try and find a good bite to keep those kids occupied. But yeah, I've been ice fishing. My dad said I was addicted from the age of 3, and I made my own rods as a kid, and I started guiding when I was 11, but whoever I guided would have to come pick me up at the house before we could go out. But yeah, I love it, and now I'm a guide for Black Hills Guide Service. I also have a full-time job in construction, so we're not busy all the time, but we do get out plenty. So yeah, any questions, ask away.
Hello. Yep. My name's Kevin Vaughn, run Wild Walleye Outfitters. We fish up at Belfouche Reservoir and Dam. Been running up there about 5 years now. I actually grew up on the Missouri River back in Lyman County. So it was a little bit of a change for me when I come out here fishing dams from fishing the river, but shoot, walleye's a walleye, just figure out where they're at and then go sit there for 3 or 4 days and give up, and you become a walleye fisherman. That's, the biggest thing with fishing is, just don't get disheartened and keep trying. Just because they're not biting today doesn't mean in the next hour they might not take off. So, I always tell everybody, don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle, stay for another hour. Your wife will get it. You'll be okay.
Hello everyone, I'm Aaron Koski, born and raised here in the Black Hills. I've been fishing since probably 7 or 8. My brother started me ice fishing. Back when we didn't have a power auger, we would cut holes in the ice with a chainsaw, pull a square block out, and that's what your chair was to sit while you fished. The sport's progressed way beyond what I ever thought I would see available. We have the portable shelters, the cordless drills, you know, everything, the flashes, the fish finders, the live scopes. It's incredible to see where this sport has gone and the comforts that it creates for us when we're out on the ice. Like Craig said, it's great to see so many kids in here, and I hope to see that many kids out on the ice this year. Always make it so that those kids have something to do. The fish may not be biting. I was out Monday with Scott. I watched him and Aurora building snowmen. He may not have gotten as much fishing in, but Aurora had a ball, and that's what mattered. So make sure that if you have kids and they're out there with you, make sure they're having fun, make sure they're enjoying it, and good luck this season. Go catch some big ones.
All right. Thank you very much for coming again tonight, guys. And with that, we will let Ms. Lawyer will run around with one of the mics here. We're going to be sharing one mic from the four of us. So you can either ask us individually, like the four of us, the same question to the four of us, or you can pick out one of us individually. Show around with questions, and I will have some help here with distributing some of the swag here. So we will try and get to everybody's questions. So if you ask a question and want to ask another one, wait a little bit and we'll see if we can kind of get around. We've got a really big crowd tonight, which we're glad to see. It's always great to see a crowd this size. And with that, we will open up the floor.
We already have a question over here because he wants swag.
It's actually a lake trout fishing question. I don't know who the expert would be on the panel, but
That's great.
I'll make something up.
Just the setup. You use braided line to a fluorocarbon leader, and what are the knots you're using for, going from braid to fluorocarbon, and then also the terminal knot to the whatever you're using for lure?
So I started fishing for the Lakers about 20 years ago, and my setup has changed. I've gone back and forth. When I first started, it was all braid. Then I got hung up on water clarity and fish being able to see the line, so I switched over to all fluorocarbon, and that seemed to help. But then I challenged myself even more, and I started downsizing it. So for the last 5 years, I was running nothing but 6-pound fluorocarbon. And we were catching up to 25, 26-pound fish with it. And it seemed to work, but although we were catching fish, we were getting fish that were coming off. And it wasn't until I took a trip up to Fort Peck that I realized the importance of braid again, to where you're not having the line stretching, you're getting a solid hook set, and you're feeling that bite a little bit better too. So I've since switched back to braid, and then I just run 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, about 10 foot. Just about a 10-foot leader, and I run a really small swivel. That's how I make that connection, just because when you're jigging in 70 feet of water, you get so much line twist, and it was driving me nuts. So it's probably not the best setup, but I haven't had it fail on me yet, so I have a lot of confidence in that. And I guess I forgot what the follow-up question was, like what kind of grades?
Line to line knots.
Yeah, just swivel.
Swivel.
Yep, I'm just using a swivel.
And do you use a loop knot at the end, or just tie knot?
I just tie straight to whatever bait I'm using. Good question though.
That's exactly what I would have done too, what he was saying.
How do you guys sign up to guide? To guide people?
In the Black Hills, it was a little bit tougher. It was about a 6-year process. You have to get a special use permit through the National Forest. Since I think there's 3 guides in the Black Hills that hold that permit now. But then outside the Black Hills, you just have to carry insurance, and I think that's about it.
Insurance and sales tax license for your business, yeah.
He doesn't carry sales tax.
Can somebody discuss safe ice conditions and unsafe ice conditions?
Well, the Game of Fish, DNR, the other states around us, always recommend 4 inches of ice to walk on. 4 inches of good, safe, clear ice. Now, I'm sure some of us in the room have gotten on much thinner. I being one of them. But they were recommending about 4 inches to walk on. I guess a lot of people prefer to wait until it's a lot thicker. So I mean, it kind of depends on your comfort level, at least kind of from what I've seen. So I mean, some people are comfortable on 18 inches of ice, some people are comfortable on 2 inches of ice. You know.
If I'm on the ice, it's safe.
How do you know how deep the ice is when you walk on it?
How do you know how deep it is when you're walking on it?
When I go out, I bring a spud bar with me. Did you bring one, Scott?
It's not a potato bar.
The spud bar, and you check that ice as you go, starting from the shore to where you're gonna fish. Normal spud bar, they say that one good solid hit is 1 inch of ice. So if you're going through on the first hit, don't go out. And then work your way out to where you're gonna fish. 3 hits, you should have approximately 3 inches of ice. That's relatively safe depending on who you are. But once you get to that area, drill your holes, verify that you're safe. Then when you move to another section, check your way as you move to another section. Once we get further into the season, you'll know after being out a few times what your ice depth is. That way you don't have to check it all the time. Good question, thank you.
Team four was going around the ice.
Where in the Black Hills is your favorite place to go ice fishing at? Anybody?
Wherever there's ice with fish under it.
I don't fish the Black Hills an awful lot. I stick a lot more to the prairie lakes, Angostura, Ormond, and then a lot smaller prairie lakes, Bearview, a bunch of other ones that are smaller and out of the way that a lot of people don't go to, and we'll catch a lot of crappie, perch, bass. Every once in a while we pick up some of them, but I spend a lot of time on Ormond just because you have to be up there to run a guide service up there and stay on the bite. Them fish change about every 35 seconds, so I waste most of my life sitting up there chasing them instead of chasing perch up in the hills.
One of my favorite lakes would have to be Stockade, just because there's such a variety of fish you can catch in there. You can go there for bluegills and crappie action. You could end up catching 10, 15 pound pike or a large largemouth or smallmouth bass. It's kind of a fun little lake because you never know what you might catch on the end of your line. But even though there's smaller fish in it, it still isn't one of my favorites because of the scenery. The scenery up there is real pretty, especially in the wintertime. Especially when you get a little snowfall kind of coming down. It's real nice up there and quiet. Nobody fishes it except for a few locals once in a while.
How are the walleye doing in Stockade?
They're growing. I think they're probably about to that 15-inch mark now. We've caught a few last year. We haven't been out enough this year to find any to verify that, but they have to be. For me, my favorite lake's Pactola. It's by far the prettiest lake in the hills in my mind, and the variety in there is just can't be beaten. I love the thought of being able to catch a 30-pound fish at any given time too. So that's what draws me to it.
My favorite's Deerfield. Love the variety in there. You can go from lake trout to rainbow trout to brook trout to perch to rock bass. Once again, as everybody said, the scenery. Don't forget to look around while you're out there. Don't focus on that hole the whole time. The Black Hills are a beautiful place to live, and you never know what you're gonna see. Multiple times down here at Deerfield, I've had an eagle land from me to Melissa away from me on the ice. And it's just incredible to watch. So make sure you're looking around. Look at the beauty, look at the snow falling, look at the sun shining, look at the clouds, and just have a good time.
If you have children, that's too close for their mother, by the way.
You're not fishing that eagle though, are you?
No, I may have left a fish laying by my hole and walked away, and it came over and got that fish.
They're smart.
Yeah. Got another one. Go ahead. Whoops.
We will talk to you right now.
What What's the best lake to fish on right now with the most fish?
Come on, you need this.
Well, I mean, I was out this morning on Sheridan down the South Bay side, and finding the fish was not hard. We found plenty of fish where we were fishing around the docks there. But it was real tough bite day. We had about 4 or 5 of us down there. We all found fish and caught some, we caught bluegills and crappie and some bass. But it was the wind came up, and I think a front line come through and made a little bit of a hard bite. But it wasn't hard to find the fish. It was just hard to get the bite. Stockade's been pretty good too, especially on the north side. Seen a lot of activity there. The family's been out there lately catching bluegills and perch.
I was gonna say, if you just wanna catch fish, any of those, Custer State Park lakes, for trout, they're all biting really good right now.
Dalton Lake is another one. I've been there 3 times this year and been phenomenal. I mean, we were there a Sunday afternoon and a Monday morning. In between the 2 days, we caught close to 100 fish.
You just pretty much have to have your tongue on the right side of your mouth, right? Isn't that how that works?
Yeah.
Okay, we got another one here.
Why can you go to school and walk for hours and not get bored, but you can go sit on the ice and stare at a small screen and think it's exciting and not get bored from that?
That's awesome. That's a great deal.
Because you never know what you're gonna catch. And that's what keeps a person interested, is just not knowing what's on the other end of the line when you do get a bite.
What's the best bait for crappie?
That depends on the day and the hour. Spoons with minnow heads work great. Some days they want to rattle in that spoon, some days they don't. Some days it's a little tungsten drop shot with a plastic bug. I mean, there is not one bait that you can drop down the hole any given day and catch a fish. There's not one color that you can drop down the hole any given day and catch a fish. Every day you go fishing, it is a list of what color you're gonna start with and what bait you're gonna start with. And your nice and neat tackle box by the end of the day is a giant pile because you've tied them all on looking for that one bait that's working. So it's not so much what's that one specific bait, it's what's that bait that's gonna work today and how long are you willing to stick it out and find that bait.
I was just telling Scott, he has never fished with a pinhead minnow, obviously. If you ever find a pinhead minnow from Clam Outdoors, Clam Pro Tackle, that's what you want. Especially for crappie.
Yeah, I'd say the pinhead, that's always a good one. The new pro ones are also, we did catch a few on that this morning. With Mr. Doug, he was rocking that. He was rocking the pinhead pro this morning on those crappies over this morning. So. Yep. So that's a good kind of a small spoon to use for the nerds. If you don't have to look like there's one of the containers up here has a whole bunch of the new pinheads in it, but it's a good lure to use.
What's the thinnest ice you've been on?
Thinnest ice I've been on?
I'd say way too is probably.
Yeah, probably
the
way
answer to
too
that.
thin, 1.5 inches actually. I've been on thinner, but I didn't stay on it, I went through it. But the thinnest I've been on was about 1.5 inches. That was up at Iron Creek several years ago. I drilled 3 holes in a triangular pattern, and like a dingling, I stood in the middle. About 15 minutes later, I was standing in a puddle of water, and at that point I decided it was time to get off and go home. I did catch a couple fish, so at least it was worth it.
You guys ready for this question? I wanted to answer. So I'm really new to walleye fishing, ice-wise. Is early ice, late ice, is there a particular time that's better? I mean, I know like nighttime, early, but yeah. So like late ice, early ice for walleye.
Early ice is gonna be your best. Take that back. About a week after ice is gonna be your best. That first week after everything freezes up, then fish kinda, they're stubborn, be a word, they're pissed it's ice and they don't like it. So
Do they go shallow or do they go deep or are they all over the place?
they'll come up shallow and feed at night, so they'll still go through their feeding habits, but a lot of what you're gonna get is you're gonna see them come in, and they're not gonna bite, they're not gonna be super aggressive, but about a week after that, usually you start getting really good walleye fishing on early ice. You know, you hit that 3.5, 4 inches of ice and start punching holes, usually you get some pretty good walleye fishing, and later in the year, it just gets tougher. It usually does, and a lot of it depends on the lake and the condition of the lake when the ice comes, you know. Like now around here, a lot of these lakes are real shallow, so bait's not hard for these fish to find, and they're full, and I mean, they're still eating, but a lot of these times it seems like, you know, I've been up to Ormond twice so far this year on the ice, and I've got 2 fish. Both of them were on a dead stick. I've had probably 10,000 chase a bait up 3-4 feet and then just turn around and go straight back down. And the 2 that they just come up and you just see them on one of them JT snare rods, just bend that tip a little bit. But that seems to kind of be a pattern for Ormond, you know. But yeah, usually early ice is pretty good for walleye.
I had the same situation he was talking about. I was on Ormond on Tuesday of this week. Marked a ton of fish. They're coming in, looking at your bait. Half the time you try and jig it, thinking that's what they wanted, and boom, they were gone. We did catch 1 fish. It was, like he said, a real light bite. Got it into the hole, and it popped out the jig and went right back
Well,
down.
I never thought about that. The lake's lower, so they can get more food.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
We were fishing in 22 foot of water when we got the 1 bite. We had tip-ups all the way into 10 foot. That's the only bite we did get in 3 hours.
Wow.
And then we got out there at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and left at dark, a little after 5.
You guys really put your work in and stuff.
Yep.
What's the best setup for pan fishing?
Well, for panfish, I like to run ultralight and light rods. I'm a big fan of noodle rods because they got a nice soft tips. You can see the bites, but they got most model rods have got a pretty good backbone, so you can get a good hook set. And then I'll run usually about 3 to 4 pound tests, either mono or fluorocarbon, depending on where if the water's crystal clear, which a lot of our lakes are. I'll usually use fluoro. Otherwise, I'll be running with mono. And then sometimes it's nice to have a rod that a light rod that has a spring bobber on it for those really tough bite days. So you see the tiniest little nibbles that those panfish will give you, and sometimes you can see the up bites a little more as well. But those are kind of my. And then lure setup. I usually throw on a tungsten jig like a clam drop kick is probably my absolute favorite jig to use in the different sizes for both panfish and trout. You can catch some, I've caught plankton and bass on these smaller jigs too. So that's kind of my preferred panfish setup.
How are the walleye doing in Sheridan Lake since they released them?
Same as stockade. I think they're going to be close to about that keeper size this year. We did catch a couple last year too, and they were about 13 inches. So any luck, they're going to be that 15-inch mark. Do you guys like using any of like the panning cameras like to mark them, or do you rely solely on flashers? Stuff like that. I don't use a camera much anymore, but I started to, well, I didn't start, but I had one, I don't know, 15, gosh, I hate aging myself, 15, 20 years ago when they first came out with them, and I will say they are an invaluable learning tool. The biggest takeaway for me was being able to watch the fish's movement and seeing what it looks like on the Vexilar. The certain flickers on the Vexilar, then you say, okay, yeah, that fish is just sitting there, finning, and you can tell what they're doing. But I don't use them a whole lot anymore just because I end up taking so much crap out on the ice. It's just one more thing, and I don't know. They're awesome for kids though. If you have kids out, that's a pretty awesome tool to have.
I ran an AquaView Micro, the original small one came out like 8, 9 years ago for a little bit. But it was just nice because it fit in my pocket of my ice armor suit. So like the new Markham still work the same way, and the new Rock Views work that same way too. And I would use it more for weeds and anything else, just to kind of try and find, if I was at a little deeper water, just try and find the green, if the weeds are still green or not. And then once in a while, it's just nice to be able to throw it down there in a hole or wherever you're jigging and just see what the fish were doing. Auger kind of doesn't have any replacement parts or batteries for that original unit anymore. So this last year I got the Vexlar, the larger one, the Vexlar camera that's up over there right now. Kind of uses it the same way, but it's a little larger, so it's not quite as convenient as that micro was. But I guess it's one of those things that's nice for if you can get on some fish, it's fun, so the kids can see. Can see the fish. I know I got hooked on hardwater last year. I brought it out with me, and my boy got to see all the perch just coming right up there and grabbing the lure, and he thought that was so cool to be able to watch all these fish swimming around on the camera. Although the only drawback of cameras is you really have to be inside to use them really well, because the screens are really hard to see, even on a cloudy day, especially if the sun gets higher.
For folks that are new to ice fishing, between the electronics and all the other gear, what would you say is like the must-have starter kit, so to speak, to kind of ensure some success?
The determination to be out in the cold. I started using a flasher only about 5-6 years ago. I watched my brother with his before that and saw his frustration when he marked a fish and couldn't get it to bite, and switch a jig and mark a fish and couldn't get it to bite, and would do that about half a dozen times, and then he'd change holes. I swore I'd never have one, but now that I do, I run a 28 Vexlar, and it's an amazing tool. It allows you to see what's going on down there. I've got numerous fish that I never would have before, because I'll see a mark that's up 10 feet from where I'm fishing. You reel up to it, bam, you get a bite. So to me, a flasher or a Vexlar or any of the other brands is a great tool to have.
How much are they?
They range anywhere from 400 to 4,000. Just depends on how much you want to invest in the sport.
Vex 8, like the Vex 8 down in the corner here, that one's right around.
You can buy a lot of used ones
First guys were
too.
$289. Yeah. That's good. It's just a real good. It's a really simple entry level Vexlar. Turn on and you go.
So I think what he was kind of asking is, do I have to have a clam? Do I have to have fancy rods? Do I need to have a Vexlar?
You can have a stick and a piece of line, seriously.
But I think what this little girl pointed out was it's a whole lot easier to sit out on the ice and watch a Vexlar.
Yeah.
You're gonna keep the kids happier longer, I can tell you that much. But you can do it with a dowel and sit on the ice if it's a nice day too. So all this stuff makes it more fun, but you can do it without all that stuff.
When I started fishing, I had a dowel that had a screw eye at the end and 2 nails. You had line wrapped around the nails, it ran through that screw eye at the other end. It had a nail on one end that you could spike into the ground, and you had a bobber on the line. You set the hook by hand and you pull them in by hand. You just ran a regular bobber with the, line through both ends. We caught a ton of fish. So it's just mainly your preference on what you want to spend, what you want to invest, but you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to have a successful day on you.
That's what happened with this little girl right here. She had a dowel and the whole setup, her and her little sister, and the little sister was 4, and she caught 2 fish with it and was like, okay, I did that, I'm done. And now they have a shelter, and they have a sled, and they have a auger, and they have the whole works now. But she has a question. Here you go.
How can you tell where a pressure ridge is?
That's a really good question. If it's not a heave, a lot of times if there's a pressure ridge, there'll be a heave because the ice cracks and then it pushes against themselves, so it kind of forms a hump like that. But sometimes if they don't heave up, if there's snow on the ice, it'll be wet. You'll see that snow will be wet along that entire crack, and those are the 2 main things. I don't know if there's anything else you need to look for.
Yeah, it's the heaves.
We've got one over here. He's been waiting. Go ahead. What walleye jig do you use?
What,
Jigs for walleye. Yep.
Rattle and blade spoon for me.
Buckshot rattle spoon.
jigging wraps. Ribbon wraps, slab wraps, but something with usually a little bit of noise. And then whenever you're jigging, you know, with noise, keep your dead stick within, I don't know, 3 to 4 feet. Because a lot of times that noise will pull them fish in, but it's a little bit too much for them to take. But they'll come and they'll eat that minnow sitting there while they're looking at that other thing over here rattling. So always, I mean, as you know, rule, if you're gonna jig in this hole, make sure you've either got a bobber or a dead stick, something sitting within 3 feet of that hole. Because a lot of times you can draw them fish in with that noise, with that perch talker, that jigging wrap, pounding the bottom, getting that mud up, getting it up high, and they'll come see that flash, but it's just too much for them to want to eat. And that minnow just sitting there, they'll just come up and they'll grab that minnow, you know, I won't say 9 times out of 10, but you know, five times out of 10, they'll hit that dead stick instead of taking your jig if they're not super aggressive.
In South Dakota, we're allowed 4 lines through the ice, so I can take advantage of them. It had those. Does everyone know what he means by dead stick? Or anyone not know, I guess?
I'll bet there's a few that don't know.
A dead stick, it's just pretty much a rod that you have sitting in a rod holder next to you that you're not actively moving, so it's just, usually you just have a minnow on, and so it's fishing for you and moving around, so you don't have to be actively working it, but then, like you said, you're working the rod next to it.
Can you explain the slot limit on walleye, and is it on every lake?
So, yes, there is a slot limit on every lake, and through most of the state, the slot limit is a minimum of 15 inches, with one being over 20. Now, there are exceptions, and some of them are on the river, with that being certain times of year, they remove that minimum slot limit. I know Francis Case used to be in the wintertime, you had to keep your first 4 walleye, but I think they've changed that now. But the only other one you have to be careful is when you do go up to Ormond or at Belle Fourche, the slot limit up there is your unders have to be under 15 inches and you can keep one over 18. Anything that hits 15 or is just under that 18-inch mark is a slot fish, and you have to throw all of them back. Well, and like I tell people, you know, you go down to the store and catch 13, 14-inch fish all day and have to throw them back. Well, you get to go up to Ormond and catch 16, 17-inch fish all day, but you got to throw them back. So if you got to go somewhere and throw fish back, wouldn't you rather catch one that's going to put up a little bit more fight than the minnow you already got hooked on?
I think he was asking you too on why.
What's the biggest fish you've ever caught?
Through the ice.
Why is there a slot limit?
Oh,
hold on one second. She was, because Ormond or the Belle Fourche Reservoir is not a fishing reservoir, it's an irrigation lake, and that's 100% what its purpose is. We are just lucky enough to have fish in there. So the Game Fish and Parks several years ago, was it the Bureau of Water Reclamation in the Water District up there, they dump a lot of water out and they will drain it down low enough that it has a tendency to kill a lot of fish. So the Game Fish and Parks quit stocking it and put that slot limit on there so that they would keep the best breeding size fish in that lake. And since doing that, it is now 100% sustainable, and they actually go to Ormond and they harvest a lot of eggs and fish from out of their fish eggs from out of their walleye eggs, and they take them to the hatcheries and hatch them and then transplant them between Angostura and Shade Hill, which are on a rotation for stocking. Okay.
What's the biggest fish you've ever caught?
Through the ice.
Through the ice? Mine would be 36.25 lake trout at Pactola.
16.5 pound northern last winter at Pactola.
40-inch lake trout out of Pactola. So are you hearing this? Pactola. Right?
My biggest would probably be a couple years ago through Stockade, 17 pound northern. Stockade's got some big trout, right? Or some big, I'm sorry, big pike in it.
What do you do if you fall through the ice?
Good question. What do you do if you fall through the ice?
I took the biggest fish, the rainbow trout last year when I went ice fishing with my daddy.
She outfishes me in those days, it looks like. That's right.
All right, so the good question here was, what do you do if you fall through the ice?
Well, the four of us up here, we all have float suits. We pretty much all run climb ice armor suits up here. Those will keep you floating. After that, it's just a matter of getting your composure, because you're gonna if you ever fall through the ice, you're gonna have that instant shock. You know, you're gonna seize up. Your breath's gonna leak. It's just gonna go out. You gotta give yourself a little bit of time just to compose yourself, so you can kind of figure out how you're gonna get yourself out of the ice. Now, in earlier ice, most of us wear picks around our necks. Those are probably the cheapest form of life insurance you can own. I mean, they're like $6 or $7. And I know some guys, they wear them all winter long, just in case. But those allow you to, pick in front of, and you can pull yourself out. Because a float suit's going to keep your legs up, so all you got to do is probably stick them in the ice and pull yourself across the ice. And then you're going to roll away from the hole. Don't stand right up, because you see the ice you're on can still be pretty weak that you just came on. So it's best to roll away. And then from there, most of the float suits these days have all that rapid drain on them, so the water kind of leaves your suit fast. After that, it's just a matter of getting back to your truck, getting the heater on. I always keep a spare set of clothes in a bag in my truck all winter long, just in case. That way I can take off the wet stuff and throw on the warm, dry stuff. I have never fallen through yet.
One of the, I'm sure one of the reasons this little guy asked that was, every time I've been ice fishing with a kid, it seems like at least 1 foot falls in the ice. So,
yeah, kids love to find a hole to step in.
Right, but then once you do step in it and your foot's cold, it really it hurts a lot to have a cold foot. So, have an extra pairs of socks and pants. And
another thing is, if you don't have the ability to purchase a float suit, wear a life vest.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You can wear
Life
it under your
jackets.
coat. It provides extra warmth. You can wear it over your coat, anything like that, but a life vest. I've done that in the past myself. I've actually tied a rope to myself and to the dog when I was by myself, because I didn't have the buddy system going. I didn't have somebody with me in case I were to have an issue. I tied the rope to the dock, I tied the rope to me, I went out and fished. If I were to fall through, I could use that rope to pull myself back out, because I didn't have somebody with me to throw a rope to.
Because he was on 1-inch ice.
Okay, someone who might be new to the waters out here, what is the one thing you want to try to look for to guarantee your success? I mean, it's always location. Not everybody has a boat, not everybody has electronics. Judging shorelines or water depths and stuff, what are you looking for to try to ensure your success?
In western South Dakota, if you go west of Missouri River, there are no natural lakes in South Dakota. Everything's a reservoir. So with that, with everything being an impoundment, you're looking at land structure, because that's exactly what's going down into the lake. So I'm following ridges down into the water, because I know there's going to be a hump there. And if you have an inside turn, there might be a little bit of a swale there that's holding fish. So it's truly just basing everything off of what I'm seeing on land, because that's going to translate down under the water. I don't know if you had any more insight on Orland.
You can look for structures sticking out of the ice. A lot of times I'll see a tree or a log that's laying on the shoreline that's running down into the water. I know at Pactola in the South Bay, there are several trees that are sticking out, the butt of it is sticking out, and the tree is down under the water and the branches are still there. You can sight fish those even up into 10, 15 foot of water. You can drill that hole, look down there, see all those branches, see the fish intertwined in them, and you can pull them up out of there. Did it several times last year at Pactola and at South Bay. Mainly just looking for what you can see that you would think would hold fish, weed lines, things like that.
The book that's available of all the lakes in South Dakota also gives you a lot of good information.
Do topographical maps, look for contour changes, depth
Who's the best fisher?
He wants to know who's the best fisherman of the four of you.
The one on the ice.
The one on the ice.
Aurora.
All right, so everyone on Facebook wants to know how thick the ice is at Pactola.
Well, I was just talking to someone that had his boat out there yesterday, so.
I was gonna say, it looks pretty thin, right?
7 inches in Jenny Gulch, I hear from a reliable source.
We were just there.
What is your favorite fish to catch?
Walleye.
Lake trout.
Bluegill. Really? Yes. For fish that size, they fight incredibly hard.
Mine would I'd have to say, I mean, I haven't caught them, I don't fish a lot through the ice, but when I do, lake trout, nothing fights harder.
Are there ice fishing tournaments here? We're new to the area, so.
I guess Kevin could talk about his. There's the Sheridan Ice Fishing Tournament it's the last Sunday of January every year. That one is a really popular one. There's always usually over 100 teams that join it. There's separate divisions for pike and perch. You pretty much fish from 8 o'clock in the morning until about 3, and then you go weigh in. But it's only $30 to join it for a team of 2. So it's a very reasonably priced tournament that a lot of people in this room and us have done in the past. And then Kevin runs his own.
So yeah, we do a little one. We're doing a little one this year. We normally do a bigger one, but other projects kind of sidetracked me for doing a bigger one this year. So we're just doing a small 20-team one up in Ormond this year, and it's already full. But I normally do one up there every year. I've really been working on expanding the number of tournaments we're working on doing and putting on. But I think we're going to try and continue to do this ice fishing tournament every year, and then I'll just expand more on my boat tournaments. Just keep this little ice fishing one probably. It'll probably stay a small tournament like this from here on out, just so that I don't have to put a whole lot of work into it, just because I have so much other stuff going on. But there are quite a few small tournaments around the area and stuff. I mean, if you look, you'll find a few small tournaments here and there.
If you're on Facebook, go to the Rooster page.
Yeah.
They usually advertise them.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Rooster
Rooster does
here
a
in
pretty
Rapid,
good job.
they'll have a bunch of signs up in the bait shop that talk about the different tournaments, some in Nebraska, some out in Chamberlain, Mobridge, areas like that.
What are your guys' favorite fishing pole for fishing lake trouts?
I actually started using, I forgot the name of it, it's a tuned up custom, it's a 42-inch rod, and it carries a really soft tip, because when you're fishing lake trout, the biggest thing is you gotta keep that line tight on them, because you're typically fishing a heavier jig, and the lake trout have a violent head shake, so they'll shake their head and use the weight of the jig to throw the hook. And so when you have a rod that has a lot of backbone, but the tip still bends over good, you just keep that super tight on it. So when I have any rod I'm using, it's gotta be able to bend pretty good. And I always tell people when I'm guiding them, the tip of the rod's gotta be pointing at the hole, but the butt's gotta be pointing at the skies. So that way they can't shake that hook.
What is the best setup for a pike, and where is the best lake for pike?
Well, I mean, my best experience with pike has been down on Stockade. I know Jenny Belcher Pactola always has some big ones coming out of it too. But I run Arctic Warrior setups. It's another Climb Outdoors product. You use an actual rod and reel, and you attach it to this little it's a little device, and there's a flag that you put down, and when the fish take the rod, the tip bends down, and the flag triggers. So you go over there, you grab the rod, feel for a little tension, and set the hook, and then you get to reel, the fish in with an actual reel. I've used other like the regular tip ups that have, the spool and the string in the water for hand, and you just hand pull them in. It's not as much fun, I think, as that. But then usually I'll be running I like the little mini predator rigs that Northland has. You can throw a good size fathead on there or a shiner to go after the pike. But that's my setup I usually have most success with.
Do you guys ever fish out to Curlew Lake? And if you do you have any success out there?
I have a love-hate relationship with curlew. I've had days where I walk away feeling like an absolute rock star, and then the next 10 times I go there, I can catch a cold.
Yeah, right there with Craig, Bear Butte, Curlew, they're about the same. You go out there one day, just smash fish, think you really got something figured out, and the next 10 times you go out there and wonder just why you can't catch fish. Why am I even still fishing? I can't catch the fish. Yeah.
Curlew is one that I haven't fished. Each year I try to fish a new body of water through the ice. It's something I've done for about the last 5 years. My numbers here in the hills are dwindling, so I'm starting to spread out further. But that's something I enjoy, is finding a new body of water to fish through the ice every year. That way it challenges me to not only see what's in that lake or what can happen there, but to look at new areas to fish and use the surroundings to find those fish.
How thick does the ice have to be to drive on it?
When are you gonna be driving on ice? Oh, okay.
Well, I am not one who normally drives on the ice. I do have a light Ford Ranger that I drive. That's my main vehicle I get around with for my fishing stuff. I have driven on the ice with it exactly 4 times, and the ice has always been at least 2 feet thick. I think, but according to the Game of Fish graphs, they say you can drive a small car out on like 8 to 10 inches of ice, but I'm like, no. I'll wait till it's, I prefer not to drive on the ice if possible, but it's gotta be, for me, I don't feel comfortable, it's at least 2 feet thick. 4-wheelers are a lot easier.
What are the advantages of having a flasher like more than an FL8?
You mean like the higher end flashers, like the 18 or 12 or 28s, or even like the Markhams and whatnot? Well, the more when you go up in the flashers, you just get more features basically. If like 8 is basically just a kind of a turn on and go. It's a real, it's a basic, starting flasher. I think the Markham like X1 is kind of similar in that. But then you go up to like the FLX12, you get a better screen, you get more interference rejection. And if you get up to say the 28, going from one of those ones to that one, it's a 9-day difference. You've got the digital depth, it tells you that's right there, there's no guessing involved. You've got more color palettes to pick from, whatever suits you need. You've got 2 zoom angles. You can zoom in like the bottom 6 and the bottom 12 feet. And it's better interference rejection than the other ones have. So you can be fishing by other people who are using a similar flasher with different brand flashers, and you won't get any interference from them, versus some of the other ones like the 8 or the 12.
What bait to use for pike?
Shiners and fat is what I use.
Yeah, just anything big. If you're fishing under tip-up, creek chubs or just something big, I prefer to use live bait when I do fish for them, but I don't spend a whole lot of time fishing for pike.
Hot dogs. Yeah. And as weird as it may sound, it's actually a good bait. I've caught several pike on a hot dog. run a treble hook through it or a quick strike rig on each end. I had one break my braided line, the black braided line on my tip up last year down at Pactola. I have no idea how big it was, but
Grilled,
my black braid broke and I was pulling on something heavy.
grilled, boiled, or raw?
Just right out of the package.
All right.
And then,
They
if,
say
and then
the
if they're
cheap
not
gas
biting on
station
those,
ones are the best too.
yep, and then if they're not biting on those, you can cook them up and have lunch.
There you go.
What do you think is the best lake to catch walleye?
Well, we know what Kevin's gonna say.
I like Ormond, but it just, I don't know, they're all great. I mean, all three of them, Shade Hill, Ormond, Angostura, they're all great reservoirs out here. They all hold amazing populations of big walleye and lots of fish. It's just, you know.
Truly though, Ormond is probably the most consistent bite. It's close. In Angostura, you just, there's years that there is no safe ice down there, and I've gone years without catching a fish through the ice down there. In Ormond, it just seems like you get the good ice. It might only be a month and a half where you have really, really good ice up there, but you can usually find a good bite too.
What's your favorite type of fish to eat?
Perch for me.
Walleye and perch.
Kevin's gonna say walleye.
Walleye, perch, and crappie, actually.
Walleye, perch, and bluegills.
Okay, you guys touched on the electronics a little bit as far as the different models coming up through. Can you explain what we're looking at on those screens? Like, obviously your fish that might be in the middle.
You'll
what are you
have-
looking at on the bottom, or how hard is the bottom compared to the soft bottom? Does it tell you that?
On a Vexilar, yes, if it's hard bottom, it'll show a clear red at the bottom, but the big thing with using them is you can see bottom, you can see fish, you can see your jig, and so, especially in the Black Hills, when you're fishing, maybe you're perch fishing on Sheridan Lake, so you're fishing the bottom 6-7 feet of the water column, but then you can have a trout swim by 10 feet above you, and you can see that, so you can reel up. We'll see, put your jig right in front of them, and typically when you get a trout under you, it's gonna bite, so that's a big key for me, and when the guy asked what's a key thing to take out, it just, the Vexilar or any type of flasher, because if you're fishing in an area where there's no fish, you are just wasting your time, and maybe you're not wasting your time, you're out on the ice, so it's still better than work, right, but knowing where the fish are, the depth they're running, and where your bait is in correlation with all that is a big key to success.
And like a lot of times within Vexlers, before we had Vexlers, where'd everybody put their bait? 6 inches, 12 inches off the bottom? And now with these new technology, with the Vexlers, with the live scope, a lot of these fish that we catch are coming in, 30 foot of water, and they're in 20 foot of it. They're coming in suspended. A lot more of these fish that we're getting to see more of these broader pictures is that a lot of these fish that we've been fishing for years is we're fishing under them. So with all this new technology, we're getting a lot more fish than we ever were before, because we're actually getting our bait up to where they are, and then we're seeing, okay, we've got fish coming in, drop it down, and we're fishing, and then, okay, here comes one 35 feet out, but he's suspended. Now, I've got 35 feet to get my bait up to this fish coming, instead of, 6 feet out when he's right there and seeing it. So, I mean, it's just the electronics. You hear everybody use the word game changer or whatever, but with the live scope and the Vexler with the 2-paired, I mean, it just, it changes everything. The way you fish, the way you watch fish, the way, just the areas you fish. A lot of times, sitting there with that live scope, I'll have fish like today surrounding us. And I wouldn't mark nothing on the Vexler, but I could see within 5 feet, I had 30 fish right next to me. And they just stay out of that cone of that Vexler that I'd have never seen that you can pick up with the live scope. So, I mean, it's, I made the comment today, we were talking about last weekend, I was on Keyhole, and my live scope died, and it was like, I was talking to Doug, actually, like, God, I don't know how people fish before live scope anymore. It's like, I don't know if there's even anything around here, I've got my 28, but it's not enough anymore, I gotta have that live scope.
Which fishing with a $700 unit and 3,000.
I mean, you just get so spoiled by them, and then not being able to see all that under you, it's frustrating, because you're like, all right, now I've gotta go back to drilling 100 holes. I don't even take more than usually one battery with me anymore. I use a K-drill with a 9 amp hour battery, and most of the times I can't kill that battery today, because I don't drill 1,000 holes anymore. I drill one hole, I put that live scope down, I see a school. All right, we're going 35 feet over, and then we're fishing. And they move out, you go back, you look, okay, over there. And you just kind of go that way instead of, all right, let's start here and go to there, and we're gonna drill a hole every 15 steps. And it saves so much time and energy.
So, for
Can't you
those
just
of you.
follow the log down?
For those of you that haven't seen these types of setups, I'm a wimp. I don't carry 90% of this stuff, but this is one of the lightest things. So when he makes me unpack the vehicle with him, this is like the only thing that I will grab, because this is how light it is. So when they talk about going light, they're not talking about, not taking this stuff with them. This is what they're talking about. Because if you said go light to me, I'd go out there with my corn and my lure, and I'd be like, how do I get it through the hole now? But no, this is what they're talking about.
I switched to a K-drill 2 years ago. I still have my Model 30 Jiffy drill that I bought in 1989. I was still drilling holes 2 years ago. I could probably go pull a rope on it and get it to start now, but it's night and day between the weight difference between that Model 30 and that thing right there. With the clam plate on it, it helps. You can run it without that clam plate, just the drill and the bit. But what this does is it allows more safety, because I started with just the drill and the side handle on it. I was at Deerfield, that drill caught, and it jerked me. I've heard of people breaking wrists, breaking arms because of that. That clam plate right there will save you from that. That thing is amazing.
And I will say, as a woman, I can drill all day with those things, but I can't handle our big one. I feel like a badass with that thing. I'm like, look at me go, and I'm barely 5 foot. So.
The biggest problem with them is you can drill so many holes so fast they'll get warm on you.
Yep.
It's no longer drag that beast 30 feet out, drill a hole, and then set it down and recoup for 10 minutes to drag it to the next hole for another 5-minute break. It's just punching holes quick, fast, and easy. No more spilt gas.
Quiet.
No more pulling ropes.
And no people complaining about your blades and, yeah.
What do you use your transducers to find fish through the ice before drilling holes?
The ice has to be pretty clear for that.
Thin, clear ice you can. As long as you get the water wet, set your transducer on it, you can read the bottom, you can tell that there's fish there. But I have not had much luck anything over 6 inches.
I used to use more of that just to find the depth, but now with like the eco maps on the Garmin, it's the same map right there that you have in the boat. So, you just take it on the boat with you, and then everything just pulls right there to the case, and you've got your contour lines and everything. But I've never had luck marking fish without drilling holes to the ice, really, just depth, but that's about it.
What reels do you guys prefer, inlines or open face?
Open face for me.
Mostly spinning for me, but I do have about 3 or 4 inlines that I do use for tougher bite days, shallow water pan fishing. But most of my reels are spinning.
I run pretty much all spinning reels, mostly Fluger and Fenwick is what I like to run for rods and reels.
The majority of mine are spinning reels. I did buy one inline last year and I've fallen in love with it. I run PC Fun reels mainly, the ICX 5 and the ICX Carbon, both exceptional reels at a real affordable price.
I have a toddler who likes to join us out on the ice, but her feet are rather small and I haven't seen any ice spikes on the market yet. Are there any do-it-yourself recommendations you have to keep her from slipping and sliding out there?
One of the first years we did Hooked on Hardwater with the Boys Club, we ended up taking rope and just tying it around the boots. That we did it around the front and the back, and it wasn't foolproof, but it definitely helped. That might have been your idea, Tyler. No? Oh, okay. I thought maybe it was. Maybe it was before your time.
There's another thing too. Almost like for cars, you can screw them into your seat.
Oh, yeah.
So there's semi-permanent, but
Tire studs, you can get them for like your 4.
We can't hear what he's saying.
Oh, he was just saying, if you take like a tire stud that you put into your car tires to make some studded tires, you can put those in the bottom of the boots, but they're a little more permanent. You don't want them walking in the house with them on.
While I walk to the other side over here, I'm gonna answer this gentleman's question again about what you need to have. When I first started doing this, I played the girl card right away because I didn't have an auger. And if you take brownies out on the ice with you, there's plenty of people out there with these fancy augers that love to drill a hole for you. And they'll do it for brownies. Sometimes they'll do it for nothing. So if you need to play the beginner card, go for it.
What's the littlest fish you ever caught?
I don't know, I try not to think about that, so I left that out. I know I've caught rainbow smelt out of Pactola that were 3 inches long, probably.
Couple inch bluegills.
Yeah, just little itty bitty bluegills when I go for, trying to catch creek chubs, sometimes you catch them, just little itty bitty bluegills.
You know, something that's really cool is we just had a conference here that was an aquatic education conference here. That was an international conference, and there's people that actually, that's what their thing is microfishing. And they go and try and catch small fish with little bitty hooks and those rods, just dowel rods or ice fishing rods, and in the summer and everything. They were just having a blast. They used our dowels and caught little tiny fish. The first time I ever saw a vexillar was with Tony Dean. Some of you in the room might remember him. And Tony everybody else was catching fish, and he said, Lori, you need to come stand by me because you are not catching anything. Come over here, watch this vexillar. So I'm pulling my bait up, and he said, yeah, do it right there. That's where the fish are. And I pulled it up, and I caught a fish this big, but there was a school of little bitty sunfish there. So,
the one fish, I thought it was this tiny, and with a bass, little tiny bass. When I was going fishing, I was going on a fish with my daddy today in a boat. Then I got this teeny tiny fish. Then we went on picnics to the beach. Then we went to we did to the fish summer last year.
That was a fun day.
Have you guys ever caught any pike out of Sheridan Lake?
Yeah, there's a lot of pike in Sheridan. It's a really good pike fishery. Biggest thing if you're ice fishing for them is get inside the coves and set tip ups up in the shallow stuff. Find weeds, get pretty close to the weeds, and set a tip up with any kind of bigger bait, and you'll find them.
What's the biggest fish you've ever caught?
Oh, we already went there. We already asked that one. You got another one?
What's the smallest walleye you've ever caught?
Kevin.
I don't know, I think I've caught like a 4-inch walleye before on an itty bitty little jigging Rap, yeah.
For someone new to ice fishing, when you're sitting there fishing, what are the signs of the ice caving in? What do you guys look for? What do you guys recommend people to watch out for scenarios in that situation?
You know, listen to the ice, I'd say pay attention, listen to it. If the ice is cracking and popping and talking to you, then you're safe. You know, but when you're sitting by a hole and you start getting water coming up on the ice, you know, you start splashing, start paying attention because something's not right.
That's what I was gonna say, is just look for that water coming up out of the hole when you're standing in the spot. If it does, get out of there.
Doing our 5-10 minutes of questions, and we'll look for our prize. You guys pushed all that long. You guys get the prize.
So what is your guys, in the past years, how have you guys been as far as tiger trout, out in the hills? I know, what is it, Center Lake, it has tiger trout. How have you guys been on that? Or have you been at all?
Yeah, I mean, we go after them every year. I don't spend a lot of time on it, but it's a great fishery for them, and I don't wanna say they're easy to catch, but, if you get into any area where you're marking fish, you're bound to catch a couple here and there. I think they just restocked it a couple years ago, so they should be getting bigger again. I know that, that first stocking, I don't even remember what the state record is now.
2 pounds.
2-3 pounds, something like that, and I know they're smaller than that right now with this last stocking, but with any luck, we can start seeing some bigger ones showing up there.
One fun fact about tiger trout is they're sterile and they do not reproduce their own stock.
What's that?
Tiger trout are sterile and they do not reproduce their own stock.
Yes, correct, yeah, they do not reproduce, so it's all stock on the fish.
Why is that?
Why don't they reproduce?
Yeah.
Cause they're a hybrid between a lake trout and, a brook trout and a brown trout. And, hybrid fish just are sterile, they can't reproduce.
We stock them so that they will get bigger. They're not spending all their time on eggs, so they get bigger.
Same with flake?
Yep, same with flake.
What lake was that?
Center Lake is out at Custer State Park.
I got a question. If you don't have a Vexlar and you're just going out there, kinda typically how deep are your trout for just like little deal and crappie?
Right now, 12 to 18 foot of water.
Look where somebody else has been fishing.
Yeah, bring the binoculars with you.
Fish finders?
What's your favorite flasher?
I think we're all Vexlar people up here. Yeah, Vexlar is for all of us.
And
Yeah,
if
definitely
you-
Vexlar's. Sorry.
And if you are out there without a Vexilar, because you don't have one yet, go talk to the fishermen that are out there and say, oh, what's this you got here? How's this
Well, what I
work?
used to do before I got my first kind of flasher was just, throw a hook and a minnow down there all the way to the bottom, bring it up about 6 inches, put a bobber on, and just sit and wait. That's all we could really do at that particular time. Used to do that on some lakes up by Lemon where I'm from, and you just have to wait for the schools to purchase them through, because then everybody's bobbering down at the same time.
We used to run what we called a depth finder, which was a large sinker with a alligator clip on it. You'd hook your jig through that, drop that down to the bottom, set your bobber so it was about a foot, would drop down about a foot into the hole. Pull that all up, unhook it, put your bait on, drop it back down, your bobber would set right where you were a foot off the bottom, and watch your bobber.
Some of us still do that.
I still do that when I'm setting tip up.
What is your least favorite lake to fish at?
Well, my least favorite, unfortunately, because I apparently don't fish enough with Kevin, the Orman. I haven't caught a walleye up there in about 7 years now through the ice. And I've been up there a few times, fish for 8 hours a day, and don't maybe see 1 or 2 fish. But yeah, it's been a long time for me. Long trip from here to there to not catch anything. But I think I don't know the lake the best either.
That's Curlew for me, just because it's humbled me more than it's treated me good.
Fair Butte, just because because it's so close to home and it's got so many nice big fish in it, and they just don't fight.
I'm with Kevin on Bear Butte. I don't know how many times I've sat out there on the ice and for hours on end and not even marked a fish.
Why do you think that is? Like, just because they have plentiful food, or?
Because they hate me.
Oh, well,
You know, and it's crazy because before I got the Garmin and the live scope, you know, you'd just sit there for hours, and then you'd get a school come through, or you wouldn't even turn the Vexler on, you'd just put bobbers down, you know, 5 foot of string and a bobber, and you were fishing Bear Butte, and then you just sit back and watch your bobbers. But then fish are always right there, and they're constantly around your bait. You might not be marking them on that Vexler, but I will guarantee you within 20 feet of that bait, there is a crappie swimming around in Bear Butte. And it's just, I don't know if it's just because there's so much feeding there that they just, but I mean, then you'll get days too where you'll go out there for a week straight at dark and you'll hit a limit of 13-inch crappie and a couple, 19, 22-inch walleye. Maybe a couple 12, 13-inch perch. They're in there, big northern. And then for the next 3 months, you'll go out there and catch nothing. Mark fish all day and not get a bite. And it's just, fishing is a real love-hate relationship. You really have to love to hate yourself to spend that much time and catch nothing.
All right, one more question.
Is there any other spot other than the Rooster to get a good ice fishing report for early and late ice?
What was that again?
Is there any other spot other than the Roosters, like website or Facebook page, to get a good early ice report or late ice report?
There are several local forums there on Facebook that I usually kind of pay attention to. This, when things start getting cooler, to see if you usually see some stuff there. But a lot of times, you just kind of have to know what lakes kind of freeze early if you want to get out on that first ice. The shower lakes, you've got Dalton, Mitchell, Sunday Gulch. Some of these are smaller places that tend to freeze early. Some of you just have to go out there and just do a little exploring. I know most beginning every year, last few years, me and my friend Matt, we take a half a day, go out and look at all these small places and just see if we can get on them.
Black Hills, West River, ice fishing.
The Rooster's the most reliable, though, yeah.
So when it comes to float suits, some of the guys I take out, they just can't afford $300-400 float suits. Is there a more reasonable float suit out there for someone that can't afford the clam?
Like BC Fun just came out with a new float suit, and you can get both the top and bottom for under $300. Still not, real inexpensive, but $139 and $149, and a lot of times, you can get a discount if you're a first-time purchase or something like that. But PCFun.com, they just came out with their float suit, and to me, it looks incredible. They just did a test the other day. Of course, he was in a swimming pool, but showed the guy floating in it. We kept joking with him, telling him we wanted to see him in actual cold water rather than the warm water, but they do work. I haven't had to test mine, thankfully, but I've seen and heard about them working. Rapid City Fire Department have tested them out here at Canyon Lake. So they are a great thing to have, but like I said, not everybody can afford one.
If you can't, a life jacket, a $40 life jacket will do the same thing, just want to keep you out of the warm, so.
Has everybody signed up for the prizes, right? Just making sure before we start doing those drawings, everybody signed up?
Anybody need to sign up?
Thank you guys for all the awesome questions. This was really super. I think everybody learned a lot. So you got the mic for the prizes? All right.
Yep, here we go. We'll bring them up here. We'll do the adults first. We always do the kids first usually, but.
Oh, sure, the kids are all going great.
Well, we want the kids to have the most fun, right? All right, so first thing we're gonna do for one of the adults here is we will do one of Mr. Anthony Pendergrass's plastic statements here.
McKenna Meisner.
McKenna?
McKenna Meisner.
Oh!
makes bigger trout plastics. And we'll do a set of some of the new clam pinhead pros here that we were talking about. We have the 16th ounce, a 3-pack, and the 8th ounce jointed 3-pack here.
Brian Freiberger.
We should have some clapping and stuff going
Everybody's just and just a little quick story here about these. So last year, I was reached out to by Nate Goldman. He's a clam pro in Ohio. He meant to donate these plastics. And he didn't when we were doing it, but he found me at Pro Day this year and gave me 3 boxes of his plastics that he pours. So we got these nice big boxes here of panfish and trout lures in plastic. So we'll give these with that next.
Chris Varco.
There you go. Good luck. All the way from Ohio. All right. Let's see what we got back here. Let's do another one of Anthony's plastics here. Let's grab one. Eric Tyndall.
Yay, Eric, yay!
Have fun with those. All right.
These kids are gonna start beating me up. I
All
can
right.
see them, right, kids?
And then we will, let's see here. We'll do one more of the other big one here of Nate's Nasty Baits.
Caleb DeGarmo.
There you go. There you go. Okay, I got a pack of towels, some Northland lures here, and a toothpick. Nathan Meisner. All right. And we got another pack here.
Robert King.
Yeah, is that one yours? Your signature? All right. There's your toothpick. You leave home without them. All right, now let's do. Oh, so many choices today for me. We will do the RBM lures here. This is the panty stopper. This is the company Aaron is representing here from RBM and Lake Effect. This is a pretty nice noodle type rod.
What kind of stopper?
It's called a panty stopper, right? Yeah. Just making sure the terminology right. It's an ultralight, so it's an ultralight noodle tip.
Sorry, I asked.
And then we also have a collection. We also have we have 12 jigs from RBM as well as a jig case.
Oh, panfish stocker is what that means. Panfish. Gotcha.
So we'll drop. Oh, yes, this is the little price. Brian.
Brian in here is excited.
Yeah, all right. Pavilka. I'll get you all the jigs and ears. You think so too. All right. Next we will do. What to do next? Let us do the lithium battery and charger from Amptier. If you got a chance to check out these batteries that are between lithium and standard, this is quite a difference in weight for sure.
DLMP.
All right. Let me go to the lock. No problem. Thank you. All right. Next we will do. Let's do one of our accessories over here. That Barrett donated here from Rapid Power Boxes. We've got different chargers here. So these work with Milwaukee and DeWalt batteries.
Barrett. Come on up.
Come on up, bud.
Hey guys, my name is Barrett. I'm the owner of Rapid Power Box here in Rat City. We have DeWalt and Milwaukee power adapters, so they have USB, 12-volt output, so if you run your flight knife, flashers, things of that nature to run off your drill batteries now. You also have a glow cup adapter, as well as the so you have a glow cup on top of your battery, like that, upright.
So when you have your children with you and they need their tablets, because it does happen, okay, just putting that out there, these will charge. Yes. These will charge in the car, so when you're on trips with them. And if your wife was playing on her phone all day at work, they will charge your phone too. So these are wonderful. I have a pink one. It's great. It's light. Just want to say that it is fabulous.
They do come with 2-year warranty too, so rest assured for that.
Our first winner, and you can pick. I guess you can pick which one you would like. You don't really use any preference to which one you get.
Yeah, here, DeWalt or Milwaukee.
Sure.
Yeah.
Brad Humbrack. And Lyle Mitchell. Come on up, Lyle. We've got 4 more of these, so we'll do 4 quick drawings. Next winner is Dwayne Combs. Matt Stewart. So 2 more.
You guys are doing fabulous on the class.
Ben Stewart. And Phil Burr. Thank you guys, and make sure to go and talk to Barry if you need any help with any of these power supplies. They are very, very handy to have out in the ice around the field, period. We got 2 more adult prizes here.
Yay, right kids?
So I've got the brand new Clam Katana rod here. This is a 30-inch ultralight. These rods are so super, super light and sensitive because they're made with carbon fiber. This would be a good light walleye rod down to a panfish rod. And then we have the brand new katana reel to go with it too. We put some cold snap wraps on so you can attach it directly to the rail and just follow this in line and you're ready to go.
And the winner
There
is?
Adam Parker.
Adam Parker. Enjoy it. I got a couple of those rods that are very, very nice. All right, and our last adult prize is the guided walleye trip.
To Curlew.
Drum roll, please.
Val Anderson.
Yay, she's got on the floor the whole time.
Very nice. You can exchange information and just take it over.
You want the guided fishing?
Go on the guided trip.
So I would just
All right.
And the moment we've all been waiting for.
Move on to the kids.
Yay!
All right. So our first kids prize, we will do we'll do a couple of Anthony's lures here. Nope. Yeah, good.
Cavaliers.
Hey, there we go. And we'll do one of them. All right, then the next one, we'll do the last two of Anthony's plastics here.
Aubrey Smith.
All right, congratulations. Oh, I guess we got some fun Vex and clam hat packs here. So we got 3 of those. One.
Kinsley Dyes? Deers?
Chris Anderson.
Taylor Haskell.
All right. Next, we'll do the Nasty Nate's Baits smaller box here of his plastics.
Macy, no last name on there.
There, Macy? Macy? Congratulations. All right, we got 2 sets of RBM lures and plastics here. First one.
Lucas Perkins.
Right over here, buddy. One more set of those, we'll let the RBM man do that.
Gavin Tinval.
Gavin over here, all right. Good job, young man. Come back here. All right, then we got a Vexillard mini tackle box here. There's 3 boxes in here.
Archer Barco.
All right. Yes, thank you very much for the help. We appreciate that. All right, we got 3 Celsius rods here donated from Fleet Farm. We'll with all 3 pick one and we'll put on all.
Nolan H. Riley Cohn.
Cody?
Nick Schaffner.
Ready to go. Ultralight rods, I mean good panfish and trout rods. All right, I got a set of Pinhead Pros here, both the small and the 1/8 ounce ones here for one.
Dakota.
Dakota was on the ice. How old was he, Mark, when he first went on the ice?
A baby.
Weeks. Yeah, like a month old. Maria, was he a month old when you took him ice fishing the first time?
If you're lucky, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I mean, here we go. From lures for you to catch some fish with. You're welcome. Thank you.
He's a fishing animal.
All right, we'll do. We have a dead meat stick, clam dead meat stick here. It's an awesome little rod, a nice soft tip, a lot of backbone. Great rod for panfish, trout, walleye, good dead stick for walleye too.
Emma Fisher.
Emma Fisher. All right, oh, I missed one adult prize actually. My bad. We'll let her go, she knows. I forgot about the pair of Relevant sunglasses. These are awesome sunglasses. This is a certificate for a $250 pair of Relevant sunglasses. They have the Community Tech or chameleon technology in them that they're transition ones. They lighten and darken. And they will help you. They take away all the glare off the ice, and you see a lot better too. These are awesome glasses.
Totally relevant.
Aaron Broderson. Here we go. All of these contact them online using that. If you have any questions on that. No problem. Thank you. All right. All right, kids. We got the top two here. So what we have here is we have a Vexilar FL8 lead condition, which it still works. It was just one that was returned that they fixed. So with this one, it's a starter unit, but to make it a lot easier to carry for whoever wins it, we're also going to donate a amped battery, so you can change it out and put a lithium battery inside of it, so it'll make it a lot lighter. If you're able to have a chance to pick up one of these lithium battery powered ones up here. The battery we'll get the battery out for you. It's in the active target right now.
Chris Anderson.
Oh yeah, Chris. Is he here? Is that you? Did you win? Awesome! Excellent, young lady. So we'll get the battery out for you. Very good job. Congratulations. I'll bring up a lot of fish. Here's a chart. This is a charter for that.
You guys can use that when you go to Ormond.
There you go. So congratulations. All right, and last but not least, the FLX12. That's this one right here. This is basically an upgraded FL8 with the sunlight reading technology and a little bit better interference rejection. Also with that one, I will be donating a amp battery with that one as well to make it ultra light for the kid who wins it. And the winner is Nick Stewart. Congratulations, young man. You're all set to go. Congratulations, and thank you everybody who came out here tonight to try and get this, to try and get answer questions, and this is something we really enjoy doing up here. Is just talking to people, answering questions, and hopefully helping you enjoy the time on the ice, catch a few fish while you're at it. And that's it for tonight. If you have any questions, come up here and let us know. And thank you again for coming. We really appreciate it.
If you catch some fish with all this cool stuff you got, send us some pictures at the outdoor campus.
Yes, and if you can send a message with any of the companies donating any of these surprises, that would be great as well. Thank you guys. Have a safe night.